Hello everybody, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns, and welcome to yet another out of character video. I think you can all tell by now that I love video games. I would make my entire show about playing and reviewing video games if it wasn't for the fact that they take so damn long to record footage for, and I have a lot more to say about them than films and anime. However, I have to put out some content, so I tend to review a wide variety of media, so you aren't waiting ages for a review of a video game, with the exception of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, which was just a string of bad luck and lots of setbacks that led to that hiatus. In any event, I review numerous forms of media because I like to discuss franchises as a whole, and I like a wide variety of media. Anime and television shows entertained me through my childhood years, and I majored in film and media, so I have a huge background in film, but video games were my first love, and I will always come back to them when I need to get through a bout of depression. I give myself the most time to play video games throughout the year. Whether it be for a review or just for fun, I'm always in the middle of a game or two or five. I have a tendency to jump between video games throughout the year, and while I am a completionist and want to complete every damn game in my library, it will happen, my year in gaming is always very eclectic. With that in mind, I figured I would take you through my 2021 year in gaming and give some brief thoughts on the games that I played throughout the year. I won't go too far in depth because many of these were played for review, but let's take a look at the games that I played this year and which games are worth your time. Let's dive in to this gigantic pile of games. Yup, the very first game I played this year was Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony on Steam. This was during the time I was waiting for my PlayStation TV and the rest of my games to arrive at my apartment. I figured I could use the time to play through the game while possessions were being shipped out, but I extremely underestimated the length of this game. At the time of this writing, I am in the middle of the Chapter 2 class trial, and that's 26 hours into the game. That is simply insane, considering I finished the main campaign of Trigger Happy Havoc in around 30 hours. Danganronpa V3 is one hell of a big game, and that meant that I didn't have time to get too far into it before I had to start gathering Trigger Happy Havoc footage. Even then, my computer wasn't available for several months afterwards, so I still haven't gotten around to finishing the game thus far. What I can say about the game so far is that it is probably the best game in the series. The first trial alone had me stumped several times to the point where I had to guess at the culprit until I got the answer right, and so far only one trial in Danganronpa 2 has really reached that height. And a little bit in Danganronpa 1, but for the most part Danganronpa 2 was closer to that feeling. Now, I do have several problems with events in the game, but I love the new cast, I adore the new mechanics and updated UI, I am blown away by the graphical quality of V3, and overall, I enjoyed my time immensely with Killing Harmony. However, I'm not even close to the end of the game, and I hear completion is incredibly long as well. So I don't know if I'll finish this on my own and have time to let this sit before I have to review this game for the Danganronpa Marathon, but as of right now, it is a fantastic game with some major problems that I need to think about before I can really figure out how I feel about them as a whole. Still, I would recommend V3 for what I played of it, if only because this cast is amazing, and what they do to update the formula is just really damn good. I did a 2.5 hour review of this game. You don't want to hear me talk about this any more than I need to, so we're moving on. Good game, go watch my review of it. It's just real good. Just go watch that 2.5 hour review. It's good. This was the game I used to pass the time while my computer was in the shop and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get footage or script or work on anything while my computer was in the shop, so I started a brand new game of Super Mario Odyssey. Dear God, I adore this game. This is one of my comfort games where I can just start playing whenever I want and just feel relaxed. I seriously needed this after all the shit we went through in the beginning of this year, because I was seriously starting to break down. I haven't fully completed the game yet, mostly because completing Super Mario Odyssey is our gargantuan task, but I have put in around 35 hours, and it really helped me relax during this tough period of time. I tried to get all the purple coins and the moons that were available in each kingdom, but I stopped when I reached the Moon Kingdom since there were so many moons and I really needed a break after all of that. The only 2 moons that I didn't get while going for this were the 100 jump rope moon and the 100 beach ball moon, which I'm saving for later because I tried them and wow, they were tough. I'll eventually return to Odyssey to fully complete it, rest assured, but for the summer of suffering, this game was the breath of fresh air that I really needed. It's just a fun and engaging platformer that's so damn charming. I took screenshots of every single costume I got, and there's always so much to do and see in this game. This is the ultimate Mario game. But damn, does it take forever to complete. This was something I played to pass the time, but also in preparation for Midnight Combo Pack, as I intend to go through every Assassin's Creed game for the show. I decided to get the multiplayer of the series out of the way now, so I didn't have to worry about it later, and thankfully, the majority of Black Flag's multiplayer can be completed solo in Wolfpack mode. So I didn't need to search for a group for the main trophies, and surprisingly, there is still an active community on PS3 and PS4, so matches started up rather quickly. In games this old, the multiplayer is usually dead, but I didn't have any trouble finding random matches, which is a major plus. Most of the trophies are fairly simple, with the exception of getting to level 55 in multiplayer, which I did in Wolfpack mode over the course of a week, and All-Rounder, which requires playing the game on every game mode and using every ability and ranged weapon at least once. Wolfpack is a grind, but it's single player content, so even with that grind I had fun. Yes, it takes forever to get to level 55, but I managed for most of the way through thanks to some YouTube videos that I put on in the background and some audiobooks. That said, the last 10 levels take just about as long as levels 1 to 45, and it does get tedious, so I don't recommend doing this all at once, especially not on both PS3 and 4 like I did. All-Rounder is only tough because it takes forever to get a match in some game modes these days. Using every ability and ranged weapon isn't that bad, but when some game modes don't have anyone playing them, it quickly becomes an exercise in frustration. I ended up asking for help on PSN profiles for this trophy, and we ended up combining All-Rounder with the DLC trophy set. Most of the DLC trophy set can be completed in Wolfpack, but Elevator to the Gallows and Sacred Land are next to impossible to do on your own. Elevator to the Gallows is one I got by accident while working for All-Rounder, but most of the players these days will see right through your booby trap and won't fall for it. However, you may find someone dumb enough or new enough to fall for it like I did. Still, it's far easier to do in a match you set up yourself. Unfortunately, private matches aren't allowed here for whatever reason, though if you get 4 people and have 2 of them on a squad, you can search for a match and meet up due to how dead the online modes are. That's what I did to help others with Gallows, and especially Sacred Land. Sacred Land requires you to play as the DLC character, the Jaguar, which only one player in the match can do, and be the highest scoring player of a domination match. This is just ridiculous and next to impossible to do on your own. First, there's the random chance of getting the Jaguar to be your character, because it's random who can choose for the match, and not everyone has the damn DLC, but then you have to have the high score on top of everything. Just get a group together and boost this one, because it is hell otherwise. I was convinced at some points that I was not gonna get this, because getting people together is hard, but we managed to do it. This multiplayer is just a long ass grind, and most of it is not what I would call fun. When I started out, I got a few trophies within the first few hours of playing, but the remaining few trophies take freaking forever to get. They really want you to play this game over time to get all of these trophies, but that's not something I have time for these days. In between streams, and modding for Linkara, and modding Linkara's Discord, and working on these reviews, and all this other stuff that I have to do, I don't have time for that. It wasn't exactly fun, but I knew I had to do it now, because this was when they threatened to shut down the PS3 online store, and I needed to get it out of the way for the eventual review. Just gonna say right now, this multiplayer is padded to all hell. Wolfpack is a fun mode, but not for the sheer amount of time that I put into this singular mode. Hard pass on this one. Just play the base game. It's not worth completing. This was another string of trophies that I needed to do before my Assassin's Creed marathon. I had completed every multiplayer game in the franchise up until this point, but Unity came out of nowhere and decided to add 2 co-op trophies to throw a wrench into the mix just as I was celebrating completing the multiplayer game. Thankfully, these were far easier and shorter than Assassin's Creed 4's multiplayer, and I managed to get it done in a single afternoon. Unfortunately, you have to complete Sequence 2 to unlock co-op in the game, which I sped through without really paying attention, so I can forget the story and be surprised later when I come back to review this. The only thing I currently remember is the animation being weird at times and Arno being voiced very blandly, but these memories will fade in time. What I came here for was the co-op, and thankfully that lasted no time at all. The only true co-op trophies in the game are for reviving a partner and getting 10 sync kills, which took about 20 minutes to get altogether. Thankfully, the co-op missions themselves can be played solo, so altogether this wasn't too bad. One of the people who helped me out with Sacred Land offered to help out with Unity, so it went fairly quick without too much hassle. I'm not a fan of what I played of Unity thus far, so I can't really recommend it, but the co-op is pretty good if you use a mic and a headset and communicate with your partner. Otherwise, I'd say stick to Black Flag, since that's a better game despite the intense multiplayer grind. But I'll look into it further when I actually sit down and play both games. Never again. This is another multiplayer component I decided to knock out, not only so I could cover the Batman Arkham games on the Night Combo Pack, but also since the only reason I've never fully completed Arkham Origins is that it is swimming in multiplayer trophies. I didn't even know the game had multiplayer until well after I had started playing the game and played the first few missions, at which point I saw that it had 11 multiplayer trophies. Not only that, but this multiplayer was dead on arrival. Nobody played the multiplayer when it launched, and it was buggy as all hell. I decided to skip the game because of this, and a few years later, there was the announcement that they were shutting down Origins multiplayer for good.
So that was a fucking lie.
For some strange reason, the multiplayer is still up and accessible if you can get through the buggy-ass lobbies. It takes around an hour just to get into the multiplayer server after defeating Error 3, the worst boss in the game, and once you're in, you have to have a good host or nothing will work right. I went on PSN profiles to look for a group, and that brought me to a Discord called One Love, full of trophy hunters who were working on the game. It took us an entire afternoon, but we finally got all of the 8-player trophies in one session. You heard that right. Arkham Origins has 2 trophies that requires 8 players at the minimum. It's hard enough getting 3 people together at the same time, let alone 8 people in a buggy lobby that takes an hour to get into, where people can just drop out of game sessions for no reason, and you have to wait 30 minutes or more for them to return. Holy fucking God, this was hell. And I did this 3 fucking times. 3 times. I started with my 8-player trophies, where we had a total of 12 people, just in case somebody dropped out at the last minute. When I was done with that, everyone in the group had gotten their final trophies, so we had to find more people for the multiplayer grind. But these players hadn't got their 8-player trophies yet. I asked if we could finish the multiplayer grind first, because that was the thing that was gonna take the longest, and we didn't have enough people yet, because a lot of people were tired after the previous session, but 2 people in the group kept whining to do the 8-person trophies now, even though we didn't have the people. So, I had to coordinate the grind trophies, which took a month overall, and then another 12-person session just to get their 8-person trophies out of the way, because I'm a nice person, and if someone helps me get trophies, I help them get trophies. They then asked me to host one more session for their friends, which was awful, since while most of it is simple and easy to get, it requires coordination, which is something we didn't have at the time with this third group. Predator Paragon requires you to take down each thug on the opposing teams with a different takedown, so if you take down the same person twice, it doesn't count. If everyone is on the same page, it takes 2 seconds per player, but we had people retry 3 times in order to get it right. Oh, and did I mention that sometimes the game will randomly make the wrong person Batman? Yeah, there is an opt-in, opt-out system to play as either the Thug factions or Batman and Robin. Sometimes it will go with your preferred settings for each faction, but other times it just ignored us and made the wrong person Batman, so we had to switch in and out until we had the right setup, only for someone to mess the trophy up for doing the wrong thing. It is incredibly irritating, especially when people insist on doing these trophies first, even though it takes 2 hours to do once you get in and the game decides to work properly. This was just awful, and that's not even counting the grind you have to do to complete the multiplayer leveling. You have to get Batman, Joker's thugs, and Bane's thug factions to level 30 each, and then, once that's done, get to level 30 overall in order to complete this multiplayer. It's a very long grind, worse than even Black Flag, and the buggy online makes it so much worse. Some of it is pretty simple, like leveling up a weapon, but a lot of the trophies are a huge pain in the ass, and there's a reason why barely anybody completed this game. On its own, the multiplayer isn't bad, because I did enjoy what was there, but you have to wade through a sewer of shit just to get there. Just hard pass. I remember liking what I played of Origins as a story, but I, for one, am glad that this multiplayer is done forever, because I never want to do this ever again. This experience was Error 3 incarnate. Just no. Phew. Anyways, on to something brighter. Portal 1 and 2 are games that I covered on Midnight Combo Pack, so I won't be saying too much here. Around mid-April, I decided that this year I'd focus on PS3 games that I hadn't completed yet, just in case the aforementioned PS3 servers ended up closing for good. They ended up changing their minds after some backlash. Okay, a lot of backlash, but better safe than sorry. Portal was the first game I completed because I wanted to finally complete Portal 2 after all these years. This focus meant that most of the games I played this year would be either PS3 games or ones that I had started and hadn't truly finished for one reason or the other. Portal 1 and 2 were a perfect nostalgia trip for me as I played through Portal for the first time in many years and played the main campaign of 2 for the first time ever. My video on these games just came out, so go see that for more details, but needless to say, Portal 1 is a very enjoyable experience despite not aging as well as some people claim, and Portal 2 is near perfection and is worth your time and money. Go and buy both of these games. They deserve your money. But also, they're coming out on the Switch now. This is just in, for the Nintendo Direct. They're coming on Switch, so anywhere you want to get your Portal fix, it's there. Play these games. Dante's Inferno, on the other hand, is not worth anyone's time or money. As a God of War clone, it has mediocre gameplay, and as a retelling of the Divine Comedy, it is infuriating. I only returned to this game to finally complete the DLC, which is somehow even worse than the base game, because I found a partner willing to help me out with the Trials of St. Lucia trophies. It is literal hell to complete, and it's the reason I started Midnight Combo Pack in the first place. I played through the game twice afterwards to get a feel for it, and it was far worse than I remembered. I'll go into it more on Midnight Combo Pack, but needless to say, just avoid this game like the plague. Just Jesus Christ.
This is filth! Filth!
While working on the multiplayer in other games, the DLC for A Hat in Time finally came to consoles, and I was so excited. Again, more details to come in Midnight Combo Pack, but I adore A Hat in Time. It is a modern homage to the collectathon platformers of old, and one of my favorite games in recent years. I was so happy to finally get my hands on the DLC, which offers so much bang for your buck. It's more of the same platforming that A Hat in Time brought to the table, and it's just as heckin' cute and entertaining as before. They add in 2 new acts to play through, along with co-op, which admittedly doesn't work properly on consoles, and a challenge mode that will kick your ass hard. Death Wish is so damn hard, but insanely fun, offering different twists on all the levels you played before. In exchange for doing all of this work, you unlock some amazing new costumes in-game, such as the Virtual Kid costume, the Witch costume, or the Shadow Puppet costume, which turns you into a demon. You have so much to do in this DLC, and you're rewarded for taking the time to do it all. I love this DLC, and I can't wait to discuss it on a future episode of Midnight Combo Pack. This is how you make good DLC. Just take notes, everybody. just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Borderlands 3 is a game that I started in June of 2020. I got the platinum a month later, pressing through the numerous issues and nightmarish completion requirements. I completed the first 3 DLC packs that same July, at which point I thought I was done. But then, even more DLC came out, which I finished in October of 2020. Thought I was done again, and then a 5th DLC came out in November. So, I completed that reluctantly, since it was basically Fortnite in Borderlands, which I hated and found entirely annoying and pointless. Well, at least I'm done now. Nope. The 6th DLC came out in March of 2021, so the hell do I know? There might be more DLC coming out because just when I think I'm done, there's always another DLC. I completed it in July after waiting a couple months to make sure that this was indeed the final pack. And at the very least, it looks like it with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands coming out next year. I can't wait for that, since we no longer have Randy Pitchford in charge, and I adored Bunkers and Badasses in Borderlands 2. So I'm still very much having fun with Borderlands, and do indeed want more. But Borderlands 3 was a fucking slog to complete, and they just kept adding more content that we didn't ask for. Who wanted the Fortnite mode? I didn't. Did you? If you did, this is your fault. Director's Cut was thankfully better than Designer's Cut, since it was focused solely on Ava looking into mysterious happenings in the universe for her new podcast, entitled Mysteriouslier, which is one of the best titles for a podcast I've ever heard. I am stealing it. It is now my podcast, Mysteriouslier, trademark Zen. It is basically Ghost Hunters with Borderlands, which is a lot of fun. It's thankfully very straightforward and easy to complete compared to the past DLC, especially those shooting missions in Psycho Krieg, because dear god, those were awful. My favorite DLC is still Guns, Love, and Tentacles due to the Lovecraftian enemies and the story and all of the gay representation, but Designer's Cut is one of the better DLC episodes. I'm still getting burnt out on Borderlands 3, due in no small part to how buggy the game is, especially for completionists, but here's hoping Tiny Tina is better than this, especially with Randy Pitchford getting the boot. Bye bye, Randy. Why do I do this to myself? I knew this game was not fun or good or even slightly engaging, but I just had to finish the Dead Space franchise because I've been a fan of the series since the first game released in 2008. I had completed the first game in 2014, but hadn't played more than that, so in 2019, I had myself a Dead Space marathon. I loved Dead Space 1 and adored Dead Space 2 when I finally got around to it after all those years. It's such a fantastic game that gives me chills even with the more action-oriented gameplay. The basic difference between Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 is a bit like Alien in Aliens. It's a bit more action-oriented, but it's still really enjoyable. Dead Space Extraction was a fun little on-rails shooter that gave some interesting lore to the franchise, while Dead Space Ignition was weird to say the least. It had a very comic book art style and consisted mostly of puzzles. It wasn't bad, and it was easy to complete, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I don't think it was what anyone was expecting. Like, what was Dead Space Ignition? I don't even know. It's one of the most forgettable titles, but I still remember these puzzles. Like, what? Dead Space 3 is none of these things. It doesn't have the slow atmospheric scares of 1. It doesn't have the high tension action scares of 2. It doesn't have any good lore like Extraction or anything from Ignition, whatever that was. It's just a homogenized mishmash of different concepts that were popular at the time and that EA wanted to shove into the game for a quick buck. Crafting and material collecting was popular then, so they removed the normal systems of 2 for upgrading weapons, making it all about crafting and material gathering, even for suit upgrades. It's not scary because you have a teammate constantly chatting in your ear, even when you play the game solo. None of the monsters get a scare from me, with the first hour even pitting you against soldiers, which just feels wrong. There's so much content locked behind co-op 2, as each map has optional missions that have co-op collectibles that require 2 people to open the chests. There's too much to collect, and much of it is useless crafting items that make the game a slog to get through and don't make you want to collect everything in the game. Yes, you can pick and choose missions and see what you missed on the select screen, but so many of these missions are so damn long and have so much to collect, it makes it even worse when you have to redo the chapters for just one collectible. Especially when you have the do or die segments in the game, and you gotta redo them and get all of those collectibles again, or in the space segments where collectibles are hidden in the worst possible places. It feels so stale and boring. And while the end is a bit better, because the tunnels are very Alien inspired, most of the game feels like Call of Duty with emphasis on fast weapons, when I much preferred the slower and fantastic weapons of 1 and 2. There are some good elements here, especially in the DLC and the final sections of the game, but 2/3 of the game is boring and just not fun to play. God, I hope the remake brings back classic Dead Space gameplay. In any case, I'll discuss this more in an eventual review, but to sum up, it's not bad per se, it's just dull, lifeless, and boring most of the time, only saved by the last third of the game. I say skip it, unless you're really curious or you're heavily invested in the franchise, and even then, this really does not feel like a Dead Space game. This was something I didn't plan on playing this year, but when my friends on the trophy hunting server asked me to help with the multiplayer trophies for this collection, I decided to lend a hand since they had helped me with Dead Space 3 and the Arkham Origins multiplayer. This particular collection contains Heavy Weapon, Peggle, and Plants vs. Zombies, which I had already completed on Vita and PS3 digitally. As such, I didn't play much of the game during our sessions, although I do intend to replay it for Midnight Combo Pack. Plants vs. Zombies is just a nice, relaxing tower defense comfort game, and it's something I can play whenever I'm feeling down and need to take a breather. I'll get to completing it again in the future, I'm sure, but for right now, I only played a little bit of it for this session. As for the other two, Peggle is a game that I had never played before, but is a wonderful arcade-style puzzle game where you have to shoot all the orange pegs in a level in order to progress. Each level has a different layout that gets slightly harder as you go, but every 10 levels you get different characters with different special abilities that can help you progress in the level. It's a lot of fun and somewhat addictive, especially when you complete a level and it plays Ode to Joy, which pumps you up to play even more. It's incredibly relaxing, and I managed to complete the main campaign and multiplayer trophies pretty easily. However, the completion requirements for the rest of the game are pretty insane. I still need to complete Challenge Mode, the Peggle Knights DLC, and clear every peg in every level, which is a pretty daunting task. Rest assured, it is doable, but Peggle is the kind of game that I need to be in a specific mood for, and I don't think I'll complete it in the near future. Still, Peggle is a very fun game, and one I'd recommend for casual players, because much like Plants vs. Zombies, it's something that anyone can pick up and play, and it's just very fun and relaxing. Heavy Weapon is another game that I had never played before, but I became addicted fast, and I ended up being one of the fastest 100% achievers for this game, ranking as 13th for a while, although that's since slowed down to 31st, which is still pretty impressive since I am most definitely not a speedrunner. But when it comes to Heavy Weapon, I was simply addicted. It's a twin-stick arcade shooter where you play as a tank in an auto-scrolling environment. The goal is to use your tank to destroy enemies, get power-ups to improve your attack and defense, and take out creative bosses at the end of each level. It is a very basic premise, but I had so much fun with it. It also helps that at the end of each level, you can choose even more upgrades for your tank, such as shields, lightning, better health, and other such upgrades that eventually turn you into a walking agent of destruction. The game also isn't very hard, despite the rarity on PSN profiles, and the only trophy that I had trouble with was the boss rush mode, where you have to destroy 19 bosses in only 3 lives. Even then, most of the bosses have easily telegraphed attacks, and the only ones that gave me trouble were the sandworm and the final boss. This is my favorite game out of the collection, and I'd highly recommend picking it up if you like twin-stick shooters or arcade-style games. It is a load of fun, and the fact that I completed it in less than a day should tell you something. This is another multiplayer component that I wanted to get out of the way for Midnight Combo Pack, but as of this writing, I've still yet to complete it. The Chronicles of Reddick is a collection of 2 games, a remake of Escape from Butcher Bay, and the new game, Assault on Dark Athena. Both games were very well received, however this collection came out during the heyday of forced multiplayer. Companies at the time really wanted to extend the playtime of games so that we wouldn't sell them back to GameStop, because there was a war against the company with most publishers. Now, say what you will about GameStop, it has the worst practices when it comes to buying used games, since I could turn in 50 games for around $10, but I always loved their used game deals and would always pick up games that nobody else wanted and see if they were worth my time. Major companies didn't like this though, and their multiplayer campaign was specifically targeted to make people keep playing long after finishing the base game to avoid giving GameStop any cash. Numerous games received tacked-on multiplayer that went completely unplayed, such as Arkham Origins and the Chronicles of Reddick. This multiplayer was dead on arrival, which is a shame because in the right hands, this could have worked. Multiplayer put 007 GoldenEye on the map. But who is jumping out of their seat to play the Chronicles of Riddick multiplayer? Absolutely nobody was playing online when I initially picked this game up, and to this day, there are very few people who have completed it simply because of the multiplayer trophies. It currently sits at a 0.85% completion rate on PSN profiles, which is just insane. Thankfully, the multiplayer is still playable since it runs on peer-to-peer servers, so if you can find a partner, you can complete the game no problem. It's not that bad, as the 4-player trophies can all be completed in around 20 minutes in a couple matches, and the 3-player trophies are just as simple. The trouble is finding people who actually own the game, which I eventually managed to do, knocking these trophies out quickly. Unfortunately, this is also the longest grind out of any multiplayer that I have ever attempted to play. Longer than Batman, and longer than any Assassin's Creed game with actual player bases. For this grind, you have to win 1,000 matches and get 10,000 kills, which is just insane. I've currently gotten all of the other multiplayer trophies, and I'm sitting at around 1,500 kills and only 150 wins in a month of playing this game. Jesus Christ! I was playing this back to back with Batman multiplayer and just losing my damn mind. After a while, I needed a break. I do intend to return to the game for kills and wins, but while kills go pretty fast, wins take freaking forever, even in the shortest match type. And I don't think it's gonna get much better. This multiplayer is just ass. It can be easily exploited, it's very buggy, but it's still a slog no matter what you do, because all of the tricks that I used only sped up the time a little bit. Avoid it at all costs if you're a completionist, because this is one multiplayer that I really don't want to return to, but I'm gonna have to if I want to talk about this game. Why did you do this? Just why? Why? Here's another pair of games which will be covered on Midnight Combo Pack soon, so there's not much to say here, but I was honestly surprised at how much I enjoyed both of them going back. I've played Assassin's Creed 1 before, but never fully completed it, and I hadn't played Darksiders beyond its beginning, so a lot of this was new content for me. Without spoiling too much, Darksiders ended up being one of my favorite games this year, and it's one I would highly recommend to anybody looking for an overlooked gem. As for Assassin's Creed, I was able to reevaluate my opinion on the game after not liking it as a kid. It is highly immersive, and I definitely say it's worth a second look. For more info, look forward to my Midnight Combo Pack on both of these games, but for now, they are both very good and have been overlooked by too many gamers, and I hope to change that. I am a huge fan of the Dynasty Warrior style of game. The Musou series, as it's known in Japan, is something I return to time and time again after starting with Dynasty Warriors 4 on the PlayStation Portable. Since then, I've loved a ton of the main and spin-off titles in this series, including Hyrule Warriors, which I do need to complete one of these days, but I loved what I played of it. However, my true love is the Pirate Warriors lineup of games, given my love of One Piece as a whole. In the past, I have completed the first two games, along with One Piece World Seeker, which isn't a Musou game, but is very fun nonetheless. Since several of my trophy hunting friends needed help with the online coins for Pirate Warriors 1, which is luckily only a thing in the first game, I decided to once again help them out because they've helped me out with other games in the past. Now, astute players will know that this game didn't see a physical release in the United States. However, I was able to buy a EU copy online for very cheap, since PS3 titles are completely region-free. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because of this, I made the incredibly stupid decision to buy a Japanese copy with the original title of Kaizoku Musou, and completed the game for a second time. I figured that it would be easy, since I had completed it already and knew what I was doing this time around. This was a mistake. This was very much a mistake. Now, look, Kaizoku Musou's base game is completely amazing. It is one of the best ways to experience the pre-time skip story of One Piece due to how in-depth it goes with the arcs covered. It doesn't include Sky Island or Thriller Bark, however, it uses that free space to flesh out arcs like Drum Island, Water 7, and Enies Lobby. Of the One Piece games I've played, this is the most fleshed out story mode that retells the story of the series. Though I have heard Pirate Warriors 4 is also good about that as well, but I haven't gotten to that game yet and can't really comment on it. I at least know it is far better than One Piece Romance Dawn, which removes some important information like Shanks losing his fucking arm in the first episode of the series. Going back to Kaizoku Musou, all the key scenes are included, such as Sanji bowing and saying that he won't forget Zeph, Nami asking Luffy for help, and Robin saying that she wants to live. The heart of One Piece is wholly present in this game, and I applaud it for that, even when I couldn't understand the dialogue as I was playing it in Japanese. Still, the message of the series came through, and I had all the feels when I saw these major moments. When it comes to the gameplay, all 10 of the Straw Hats are playable here, Although I guess I should say 9, since Jinbei hadn't joined at that time, as well as Hancock, Whitebeard, and Ace. While not all the Straw Hats have a good control scheme, most are really fun to play, and they went the extra mile to be accurate to the source material. I was still learning of new combos as I played, such as accidentally doing coup de burst as Frankie. Frankie is not even my preferred character to play as, but it just shows how there's potential for every character, and they really went the extra mile for that detail. The story is fantastic, the gameplay is engaging, and the cast is solid. The only problem for me is the completion of the game. It starts off okay, with the main campaign being fairly quick, and another log not taking long either. Beyond that, however, it took me 130 hours to actually complete this game. You wanna know why? 2 trophies. The trophy for defeating 100,000 enemies, and the trophy for getting all of the skills in the game. The 100k trophy takes about another 10 to 20 hours, which isn't that bad, but the skills trophy is simply the worst because of how they work. You unlock skills by attaching 3 relevant coins to a character, and you get coins by playing through stages. Now, most of the coins drop on specific stages or by using certain characters, but there is a group of coins that are entirely random. Once you complete the main and character logs, these coins will start dropping, but not in the way you expect. You earn these special coins by earning 750 plus exclamation points and an S rank in the mission. This'll give you 5 extra coins and a random chance of dropping as the 5th coin in these random drops. However, the drop rate is simply pathetic. That 5th coin has a chance of being any rare coin, and I can never get the ones I'm looking for when I'm trying to get them. However, let's just say that you do get these rare coins. Let's say you get a Straw Hat New World mark or a New World Sanji coin. Once you've got that mark, the odds multiply on getting a new mark of that type, meaning you will spend 50 hours running through levels attempting to get a new coin just for these skills. What was worse for me is that the guide I used forgot to mention that it only dropped on the 5th coin of all these extra coins, so I spent hours wasting my time running through random levels and not getting them because I suck at getting 750 plus exclamation marks with Frankie and Brooke because I'm not a fan of their control scheme. While I love this game, I can't recommend completing it because of this trophy. It's not worth spending 100 plus hours getting this to work for both the English and Japanese version. And it's the longest grind I had to endure this year. It is a lot, and I've heard people who have had to wait even longer to get these coins. It is luck, even if you know what you're doing. This past year, I finally worked out the kinks for my live streams and switched over to using my VTuber rig because I don't like appearing on camera as much these days. It is a huge dysphoria trigger for me, and it's just best to have this cute VTuber rig. Part of the delay was obtaining the rig itself and the new Bun Squad layout, as well as getting it to work properly and learning the technology. We've begun to post these streams on the Bun Squad Gaming channel, as well as highlights from these streams on the main channel. Basically, what I'm saying is, you will watch my VTuber Bunny content, and you will like every second of it. Otherwise, I will be a very angry bun. In any case, one of the first games we streamed for the Bun Squad Live was Astros Playroom for the PlayStation 5. Yeah, I am just as surprised as anyone, but I somehow managed to get my hands on a PlayStation 5 this year. I got a message over PSN one day that they were giving a select few people a chance to get a PS5, and while I was skeptical at first, the email was official and everything checked out. I did not think this was even possible, but after waiting 48 hours to get into the queue that the link sent me to, and 2 hours waiting in line, I managed to get in and purchase a PS5 and a couple games with some credit that I had been saving for such an occasion. And since I'm sincerely thankful for everything you buns have done for me this year, I will be streaming every single one of the games I got, which so far includes Returnal, Bugsnax, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and of course Astros Playroom, since that comes with the PS5. I'll delve into Astro with the first impression video soon enough, so I don't want to discuss it too much in detail yet, but I will say that I am super impressed by the DualSense controller. It is so weird because a lot of the PS5 titles are just better looking and performing PS4 games. However, my big takeaway is the damn controller. The features of the controller are what Astros Playroom showcases the most, and I feel that it's worth a highlight here. The haptic feedback transforms Rumble into something incredibly immersive, with every surface you walk on having different sound and feedback coming from the controller. Weather effects like hail feel different from water, and walking on metal feels different than wood. The adaptive triggers also offer resistance against button presses, bringing you into the game like never before. I am seriously blown away by this controller and the new features it adds. Though, admittedly, I'm not a fan of the color scheme, so I may get the black variant sooner or later, assuming I have the money. The console itself is also impressive, being extremely fast and outdoing the PS4 in its RAM capacity, able to keep a game running in the background while you do other things. It boots up instantaneously, there are next to no load times, and saves are completely in the background to the point where I never notice them. It's kind of scary how well games run on PS5, and I am super happy with the technology since I've been playing a lot of PS3 games this year, and it's just such a huge jump. The layout of the PS5 is super streamlined, with separate windows for games and media, and a tab for the PSN store, which also has no wait times. It's amazing. The biggest quality of life improvement though, especially for completionists, is the real-time trophy help and tracking, which gives you a tracker in each game, their trophy menus, and in the hub, detailing how far along you are with each task. It tells you exactly what you need to do for trophies and each game as a whole. I haven't even started Final Fantasy XIV on PS5 yet, but they track every story mission you complete for the main story quest trophies, which is a godsend for completionists. I love this feature and can firmly say that the PS5 is very impressive. It just needs more games, since at the moment there really aren't enough exclusives. Still, I am happy I got one for this immersive experience, and while I will say wait for a price drop and the inevitability that you may get one in the future, it is worth it eventually. It is a damn fine game, and for a free pack and title, it gives you way more content than I ever expected. Astros Playroom is a collectathon platformer where you go inside the PlayStation 5 with Astro and collect a bunch of nostalgic memorabilia from Sony history. There are 4 main worlds that each represent the PS1 through 4, and they all bombard you with nostalgia, making me grin from ear to ear. Especially since the collectibles you get are displayed in the hub world, giving you a tour down memory lane. There's even a gacha machine in the hub for more obscure accessories like the PSP GPS and other crazy tech you probably have never heard of. When all of the collectibles and trophies have been obtained, there are speedrun courses and a final boss in the center of the PS5. I absolutely adored Astros Playroom, and I highly recommend you play it as your first game when you get the system. Completion lasts around 5 hours, and for a free title made to show off the features of the console, it is way better than it had any right to be. I'll go into further detail when I cover it in the future, but it is a very impressive title, and I had a lot of fun streaming it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the second PS5 game that I streamed, though at the time of this writing, we haven't gotten very far into the game, only having completed around 4 planets, and sadly we've had to put the game on hiatus due to a ton of stream delays as of late that are related to my health. However, from what I've played so far, I am thoroughly enjoying what's being offered. Rift Apart plays mostly like a standard Ratchet and Clank title, where you go from planet to planet and solve issues for the locals in order to progress, but while the gameplay and premise is somewhat the same, there are a few updates this time round. The planets have received a massive boost in non-linearity, having so much to explore and mess around with compared to previous entries. You can collect honey for Chef Tulio, or Zerp stones for a pregnant dinosaur. There is so much more to do here than I'm used to in each planet, but it's all so well paced and designed that I was never overwhelmed. In addition to all of this, they added a mid-air dash move that makes platforming so much easier, and a gadget allowing you to run on specific walls like in Prince of Persia. However, the biggest and most important addition is the ability to use rifts. I won't get into the story relevance behind them, but essentially, pulling yourself into a rift leads you to another part of the level, loading so quickly to the point where you can use it in battle to retreat or get the jump on enemies. It is simply fantastic and adds so much to the level design and combat that I don't even feel I've scratched the surface here. Add to this even more quality of life improvements like collectibles being shown on maps, allowing you to pin them for later, optional rifts being marked where they're completed so you know when you're done, and so many customization options for subtitles and accessibility. I think this is the best Ratchet and Clank to date, but I'll have to finish it before I come to any real conclusions. For now, I simply adore it, and want more games with Rivet and Kit. And also, I want to dance to Booty Wobblin' again. That's a thing in the game. It's just brilliant. And now we move on to games that were requested by viewers, or in this case, my partner Philip. Yeah, Phil really wants me to review Fate's Stay Night, to the point that we started streaming it on Thursday nights. For those unaware, Fate's Stay Night is a visual novel, much like Danganronpa and Ace Attorney. However, unlike those games, it is strictly a novel in design. The entire game is around 200 hours long of interesting stories revolving around a Holy Grail war and mythical heroes being summoned by mages, but aside from having choices and different endings, there's no real gameplay to speak of. Still, I've been having a blast voicing all of the characters and reading through it on stream. At the time of this recording, we have completed the prologue and are on day 5 of the Fate route, where everybunny wants to sleep in the same room as Shiro. It's weird. This game is like 50% slice of life shenanigans, with Shiro and the cast having sexual tension, hence why we named these streams Fate Gay Night, and 50% Magus battles and servants fighting each other. I am very intrigued so far, and can't wait to get to the Unlimited Blade Works route, so that Shiro can end up with the best girl Rin. I don't want to say any more for fear of spoilers, but for now, I love the game, even if it isn't for everyone. If you're interested in magic, school drama, and historical figures, both real and mythological, this may be for you, or you can just watch the anime adaptations if you really don't like reading. And if you decide to join us for a read-through over on Twitch, I ask that you abide by our strict no spoilers policy. I have Phil vetting the comments on my behalf, since I really don't want to be spoiled and would like to keep said spoilers away from both myself and our viewers who also haven't read Fate. In any case, look forward to our eventual 4-part Fate Stay Night review, because I have a lot to say already. Also, in hindsight, this reminds me a lot of Persona. Fate Stay Night is Persona. Game theory. Thus far, I have only completed the opening level in Psychonauts 2, since one of my patrons, Fruity Groovy, was having a birthday on a stream night, so I agreed to make a special stream of the game just for him. I initially tried to play it on PC, since my friend Enigma had a Steam code for me, but for some reason the game wouldn't run correctly on my laptop, and I don't know why. It was very laggy in the menu screen, and it froze on the opening bit with Raz not being able to move. So I ended up buying it on PS4, and spent half of the stream downloading and installing the game, while I chatted with the buns in my audience. It wasn't exactly a perfect stream, but I loved what I played of the game. I adore the first Psychonauts, which I'll be reviewing very soon, thanks to a patron request made by Fruity, so all I'll say right now is it felt like an even more polished version of that first game. The first level was fun and engaging and weird in all the right ways, and while I still need to play the Rhombus of Ruin, I can definitely say Psychonauts 2, from what I played, is worth your time. I'll have more concrete things to say on it in the future, but yeah, this game is very good. It is a bit weird seeing a Microsoft game on Sony consoles though. Though, I honestly knew it would happen one day, and it probably will again now that Sony owns Bungie and Microsoft owns Crash and Spyro. God, it's such a weird time we live in right now. The final game I played on stream this year was Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. I've been playing this game on and off throughout the year, since it's another title where I've been gunning for the platinum, even though it's very, very long and time-consuming. At the time of this writing, I only have 3 more trophies to earn before I obtain the platinum and upgrade to the PS5 version to do it all again, because I'm crazy. I want to start from scratch on PS5 to get into the game before Endwalker, but much of the trophies I have left are just grinding. I have 650 or so Fates, 60 more Trials, and 80 more Guild Tests left, and once that's done, I can just sit down and enjoy the game on my PS5. However, I have just completed the worst grind of the game. All 1,000 leave quests are done. So, you know what? It's not going to be as bad now. Like, the evil has been defeated. Yeah! Now, that's just my personal game time. When it comes to streams, my friends Mars Girls, Suede, and I have been rocketing through the base campaign and the side quests as we also work towards Endwalker on stream. It's not exactly a story-focused stream, since we don't read the story out loud, and are more so using it as a way to relax at the end of the week, but we've gotten to Ifrit, which, screw you guys, I'm pronouncing it correctly, and been having fun just chilling each week in the game. We've had some issues getting together recently, but here's hoping next year we can get that bastard Titus. I love Final Fantasy XIV. It is a fantastic MMO that I've played since the beta of A Realm Reborn. It's just an all-around great game, and I've put about 1,000 hours into it at this time, not counting my time on the PS3 version, because Exophase can't really track that time. It is a love letter to Final Fantasy, and every time I play it, I see more and more Easter eggs and references to past Final Fantasy games. It is well worth your time due to how much you get for only $15 a month. Although my subscription has lapsed here and there because money issues, but it is still worth that price. If you're still not sold on the game, once you buy the actual game in stores, you can play for free up until Endwalker now, so if you just want to try it out, buy the base game, and there's no fee until you reach the 4th expansion, which I'm nowhere near, despite playing for years. It is simply amazing and deserved the award it received at the Game Awards. Just play Final Fantasy XIV. Do it. Go. Do it. Do it. Last, but certainly not least, we have the games that Linkara played on stream this year. Now, I won't be discussing these in depth, since I didn't play them myself, but I was there for each stream as a mod, so let's take a look at what we covered this year. The main game for this entire year was Fallout New Vegas, which took 38 individual streams in order to finish. It was such a long game, and we didn't even do everything we could have done in the world of the game. Most of the stream was focused on the main game story, with our goal of stealing Matthew Perry's pants. Once we had the pants, our character, Georgie LaForgie, who was a character we created in Papers, Please, decided to take over the wasteland to form New Arstotzka. where we would make a far better wasteland than the one they had here. We had a lot of fun interactions along the way, including stopping cannibals from eating people, killing Caesar with his own spear, and the holy hand grenade, making pants explode, helping a robot sex worker named Fisto, and many, many more. Fallout really isn't my type of game, since despite its wonderful story and interactions, a lot of it relies on you making a story out of all these individual events. And it's very easy to die in the game, making the gameplay not very appealing to me. However, watching this on stream is what made it enjoyable for me. I could focus on the amazing interactions and snippets of story, especially because we had the chat pay for side quests that they wanted, which led to some fantastic moments. I am eternally grateful that they paid for Linkara to play Old World Blues, because that DLC is just hilarious. The think tank had us in stitches and broke me. And then there was the time we talked to our own brain, and it told us to fuck off. I love this game. I thank Nash endlessly for asking Lewis to do this DLC, because it was so worth it. The true cap to our adventure was the ragdoll physics, as we used our army of robots to yeet Oliver off the dam. It was a brilliant end to a brilliant adventure, and I will treasure these memories till the end of time. Other than Fallout, we had a few smaller games we played in between, such as Among Us, due to its most recent update. I have to say, Among Us is even better now, with a 15-player setup allowing for constant multi-imposter games and new roles, such as one that allows people to shapeshift into other characters, allowing this update to add a lot of new life to the game. There are achievements now, which is always welcomed in my book. However, there's also free cosmetics that you can earn in the game via the Cosmic Cube, which, as we all know, can do anything, and new free accessories you can just earn by playing the game itself. There's so much replayability to the game now, and it is so much more worth your time than it ever was before. Sus Bunny will always love this game, and I can't wait to play it again. For October, we decided to do an indie game spooktacular. There were a lot of games we went through, such as Summer of 58, which is like an episode of Ghost Hunters, where a YouTuber goes to a haunted area and films haunted events. It's okay. It wasn't bad, but a lot of the puzzles were hard to figure out, and many of the scares in the game were jump scares. I can't fully judge, because I can't hear the game's atmosphere when we stream, but from what I saw of the game, it wasn't great. But then we played the demo for Wintertwined, where one of the devs for the game actually showed up in the chat while we streamed it. Gotta say, I really liked what I saw of Wintertwined. It's classic winter horror, where the snow and cold are just as much a problem as the monsters themselves. And while the sprite work is merely okay, it more than makes up for it in atmosphere alone. The demo even ends with a scare that really got me and made me want to play the full game. Highly recommend you check this one out. The Rocket Stop incident, which is probably my favorite demo we played, is a very PT-inspired title that is dripping with atmosphere from both the visuals and puzzles. It was a fantastic demo and demonstrated much of what made PT so great, with a far bigger environment. I am very intrigued to play the full game, when it eventually drops. The final 2 games were the demo for Interference Dead Air and the full game Chasing Static. Forgive me for being harsh, but the demo for Interference was pretty bad. Not gonna lie, it was kind of bad. Not only was it short, but nothing really happened in it. You're a security guard talking to your girlfriend over the radio, and nothing occurs on your end apart from some distant noises. It feels rather weak, and I really didn't care for it. Also, it's over in no time at all. Like, we were surprised when it ended. I think it was like less than 10 minutes. Just wow. Chasing Static, on the other hand, was pretty damn good. Something weird is happening in a small town, and when you get to the local diner, supernatural occurrences start happening all throughout the area. You have to investigate the strange disturbances and uncover what happened here with stuff you find throughout the town. I really enjoyed this one because the scares were all about seeing the echoes of what happened to the people in town and piecing 2 and 2 together. Other than one major moment where the game doesn't tell you how to use the function on a device, making it very difficult to progress, I overall enjoyed what I saw of Chasing Static and would recommend checking it out. So yeah, the spoopy month brought us some great indie games, and we ended the year with Linkara beginning his randomized Nuzlocke of Pokemon X. It was a great end to the year, as we started with a Litwick on top of catching a Volcanion in the first route, and managing to catch an Entei by pure dumb luck with only Pokeballs. We are the Arson Super Syndicate, aka the Ass, and we cannot be defeated. You cannot defeat the Ass. I hope you all tune in for more streams with Linkara, myself, and all the other mods as we continue the Pokemans. Yeah, Pokemon, yeah! Yeah, Pokemon, yeah! In any case, this has been a mixed gaming year for me. In attempting to finish a lot of games that I put down earlier, I had a mixture of really bad games and surprisingly good ones. I would very much give a hard no on Dante's Inferno or Dead Space 3, but I also encountered some absolute gems such as Darksiders, Portal 2, Chasing Static, The Rocket Stop Incident, Assassin's Creed, Wintertwined, Heavy Weapon, Astros Playroom, Fate Stay Night, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and A Hat in Time, especially for the Death Wish DLC. Special thanks to everyone who helped me out with multiplayer trophies, including Cry for Dead Space 3, Mothman, Nero, Primera N, and Bat Carlitos for Batman Arkham Origins, Primera N again for the Trials of St. Lucia, Mad Dog Max for Assassin's Creed Unity and Black Flag, and of course, CAC 123 Prodigy, Ratchet version 2, V6, C-Sick P0203, Jonas Mathiasen, AJ Radio, Speedomer, and Mad Dog Max once again for Sacred Land and All Rounder, which were some of the hardest achievements that we had to do for these games. Another thanks to Mid-Joker, Hyperfusion, and Cry for their help with Peggle and Heavy Weapon, and Mothman for getting me the game in the first place, because going through money trouble at the time. Also, a big thanks to Sin, Pink Guro, and JVA Ferreira for helping me out with the coins in One Piece, and Killer 4, Saboas, Sin, and anyone else who helped out with the atrocious Riddick multiplayer. In any case, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns, and I will see you all next time when I've hopefully played a lot better games. Have a good one, everybody!